So, hey, so first of all, I just wanted to say welcome to everybody who is out there. I know from some of the people who had registered earlier, we do have people from literally around the world, which is it's really cool. And for those of you who are staying up very late to participate in this, I appreciate it and love to hear from you. Um, just in general, I just wanted to start off by saying that, look, this business can be a very cutthroat, tough industry. There are some people who, and you hear about stories all the time, who will do anything, whatever it takes, to get ahead. Whether it's climbing on other people's backs, and let me just tell you, there are people who do run their business that way, and I assume that for some people it works. It works out all right. Um, from a personal point of view, it's not a way I like to run my business. And the truth of the matter is, you don't have to run things in a cutthroat kind of way. You can actually be a nice person. You actually can help other people, even if it might even mean that you might not get the job because you help somebody else get it. That stuff happens to me, and that's absolutely okay. And I guess what I'd like to do, and I guess my business model is, I like to surround myself with other people who also want to help people in the industry and give good information and give good advice and share tips with people and contacts. To me, that seems like a really nice way to run a business. And the fact of the matter is, you can have success doing things this way. So the three key things that I wanted to try to go over tonight, I mean, the main thing is, I like to talk with people. I send out my weekly letters, and if by some chance you heard about this event and you are not on my special mailing list, every week I send out free acting and modeling information, and I try to pick some really interesting topics that I think will be very helpful. So if you're not on that list, you can just go to howtomodel.com and you can sign up. It's free. Just put in the information on the homepage, and then you will automatically be placed on the list. But the three key things that I would like to talk about is, one, I wanted to be able to try to start some conversations. If there are people who've done some work in the industry, to share that information with others, because that way you might be able to help somebody else who perhaps wants to work in that area of the business, or maybe you have developed some contacts that that might be helpful to somebody else that you're okay with sharing. And look, certainly I'm not just going to throw out every contact that I have with people, because sometimes it would be inappropriate. I don't know that certain directors want to have their name or email address sent out to the world. That's not really what I'm talking about. But if somebody contacts me and there's a certain person in the industry that they're actually, let me give you a perfect example. So I was doing a workshop yesterday, and there was a guy who was taking the workshop, an actor, who actually was a pitcher in college. This guy was a really good pitcher. And I started thinking about it, and I thought, I know somebody who is she's a casting director, and what she does is her company specializes in casting athletes for film and television shows. So when they need football players, ice hockey players, soccer players, basketball players, baseball players, this is a company that gets hired by lots of film production companies and television production companies, and they will cast, real athletes. They don't necessarily have to be great actors, because they might not have any lines. But if you've got, 9 people on a baseball field, you have to have people who really, look like they know what they're doing. So in this particular case, I sent this guy the website address for this company, and he could sign up right online, and they're always looking for people. So that's the kind of information that I'm talking about. So that was one of the things that I wanted to be able to do. Just have people either go to the Facebook page and type in a question, or ask a question through Joel, or you can just, as Joel had mentioned earlier, you can just do it through right at the website that you're on. You can type it in, and then Joel will simply ask it to me. That was one of the things. The other thing is, I'd love to hear about what you are doing, what you've tried to do recently to help advance your career. And, I think that's something that would be great for everybody to hear about and learn from. We can talk about things that worked, maybe some things that didn't work for you, but that would be wonderful. And the third thing is, I'd love to hear about maybe some advice that you've been given recently to see if it did work, maybe if it didn't work, if you have questions about things because you want to try something out. And that way, I certainly will give it my best shot and try to answer things for you if I possibly can. And maybe other people have had some experiences where they can help you. And this all kind of goes back to this, let's have this great community, of people really, truly trying to help each other. And the Facebook page is just a wonderful place to do it. And you can also invite your friends to come here as well, even after this event. So let me get to some of the questions that have already started coming in. I don't know how many Joel has gotten yet, but there's a question here from Jeremy Charles. He wants to know, is it really possible to have success in this industry? And I think that's a really good question. One of the things that I would begin to talk about is, what is success? Success is very different for different people. And like, for instance, now I make my living as an actor and a commercial model. That's my daytime job. That's what I've been doing for over 27 years. So success for me certainly is being able to book jobs. Now, it's not necessarily what jobs I book, but being able to book jobs, that is success to me. I can tell you, though, when I was a full-time college student, and I was doing this on a part-time basis before I started doing it full-time, success was just any booking that I had. It didn't make any difference to me if it was extra work or it was a 2-hour commercial modeling job. That was real success to me. There are a lot of people who take my workshops, who've purchased my book, who tell me, look, they have full-time jobs, or they're full-time students, and success for them might be very different than for other people. Some people have mentioned to me, look, if I book one job a year, that's all I'm looking for. If I get 2 extra jobs throughout the year, that's all. Being on a set, watching other actors work, seeing how things take place. If they happen to see themselves in the movie or in the TV show, that's success for them. So there are many, many different levels of success. But to answer your question, Jeremy, absolutely. Look, there are people who get hired every single day for different kinds of jobs. And look, very few people, to be honest with you, very few people are going to be stars. Very few people are going to have their own television series. Very few people are, going to be in hit movies. Yeah, those are rare. But then again, in any business, how many people are really at the absolute pinnacle of their business? If you're a basketball player, what are there, 12 people on a team, 11 people on a team? There aren't that many people in the world who've made it, to the top of the NBA. So anyhow, absolutely. And the key thing is you want to get the right information in order to give you your best chance for success. And that means taking really good classes. I offer private online coaching, which people have found incredibly helpful. You can even go to howtomodel.com and see all the success stories. And I'm not saying that it's just because they've studied with me or read my book. You've got to do the work itself. And what you're going to find is the more prepared you are, the more knowledgeable you are, and the harder that you work, the greater the chances are that you are going to be successful. So, and if you do have any questions, certainly feel free, any specific ones, just post them on the Facebook page, or you can always email me at or at aaron@howtomodel.com, or on my website, howtomodel.com. So anyhow, I hope that answers that for you. And Jeremy, really, if you're really interested in doing work in this business, absolutely pursue it with everything you have. and do it in a smart way, like with any other kind of business. Make sure you know how to run your business. Make sure that you are prepared so that when you do make the right contacts with people, you know what you're doing and you can really, really give it your best shot. Okay, so let's see, what else? We have a question here. Let me just refresh the page.
Sure. I just want to also just
Yes,
let
sir.
everybody know
Sorry.
we've had a few people jump on since we made this announcement when we first started. One of the best places you can ask a question right now is to go over to the Facebook page, facebook.com/how to model. We really want to build a community over there and we want to be able to have the questions posted there. So if you go to facebook.com/how to model, just type in right on that page your question. It'll pop up here in the question area, and we'll be able to have Aaron read those questions and answer them. Also, Aaron, Autumn actually asked a question over on the GoToWebinar control panel. Uh,
Okay.
she says, "I'm too good not to have an agent. What do I need to do, Aaron?"
Okay, that's a good question. And I love your attitude. I love the positive attitude there. And you're right. You know, you are too good not to have an agent. So I guess, yeah, and if there is any way of us actually talking live, that would be great. I can try to answer some things for you, but if I can get responses and then respond to that, that would be the best.
Let me see if I can.
So here are a couple of
Let me
ideas.
see if I can unmute her real
If
quick.
you're having some,
Autumn, are you there? Oh, no. Okay, let's just go ahead and go straight with
okay,
it.
that's
She
fine.
wasn't connected.
And you know what? The thing that's really neat about this, Joel, is that even though Autumn is asking this question for herself, you know, about why, you know, is she not able to get an agent because she's very talented, this is a question really for so many people, and I think it's a really good one. So here are my thoughts about that. Now, I don't know what you have done in the past as far as trying to get an agent, but here are some of the problems that some people have had as far as getting an agent, and then I'll explain to you how to try to alleviate those kinds of problems. Number one, without a doubt, you need to have a great headshot. It's really very important to have a really good headshot. I'm not saying you can't get an agent without one, but it will help you tremendously. Having a headshot, especially a commercial headshot that really shows who you are, it really shows your personality. It lets the agent know how they can submit you. What kind of roles are you going to be booking? So they need to see some kind of picture of you. If you do have a resume, you know, put it on the back of your headshot. And you know, we've done workshops in the past, you know, just talking very specifically about how to create a great resume. So I don't want to spend much time with that. But what's best is to have a headshot and a resume, even if it's only a small amount of information on your resume. It doesn't have to be something that's filled with, you know, millions of movies and guest starring roles and theater that you've done, but you do want to have some kind of resume. And just on a very, very side note, if there is somebody who would like to do a private session with me, we could spend a couple of hours just talking about, you know, headshots, resumes. I could help put one together for you, but let me just drop that for a second. So you want a headshot, you want a resume. The other thing is, and I don't know if this has happened to you, but I do know there are a lot of people who've tried to get agents in very, very distant markets from where they live. And part of the problem with that is if you are living, you know, let's say 6, 7, 8 hours away from a major market that you want to work in, it's going to make it really tough for an agent to want to work with you, not because you don't have the talent. You might even have a great headshot and a great resume. The problem is you have to be there. And once again, yes, there are some exceptions to the rule, but pretty much, let's just use New York as an example. If you're looking for a New York agent, you have to have easy access to New York. If they call you today, now normally you're not going to get a phone call today saying we need you in an hour. It does happen, but I wouldn't say that's the norm. Normally it's the next day. So you do have to be in a situation where you can get to New York the next day. that you are willing to go and make that kind of commitment. I can tell you it's hard. Depending on how I get to New York, it can be anywhere from 2.5 to 4.5 hours, depending on the mode of transportation and the traffic for that particular day. However, I have chosen to make that commute, and I've been doing that since 1989, and it's hard. It's difficult, and I will go to New York, um, even if it's for a go-see and they're seeing 100 people, and I know the chances of me booking it are pretty slim. So I go because my agent trusts me, and I gave my agent my word that I would be there unless I'm booked out already or I've got something else going on. So one of the things is make sure that you try to find an agent that is local for you first, because that will make it easiest for you, and it will give you your greatest opportunity for an agent to want to work with you. So it's a great headshot, having a resume, finding somebody locally that you want to work with, and unless the agent already has people in your specific category and they just don't want to take on any more people who look like you, which does happen, but you'll find that if that's the case, then you go to another agent that's local for you. So if you want, Autumn, if you want to write back a specific question as to what you think has prevented you from getting an agent, let me know, and I'd be more than happy to try to answer that one for you. But you're right, you should have an agent. And agents are great to have. I mean, I always talk about marketing yourself, that you should be out there promoting yourself because nobody's going to work harder than you are going to work. But let me also tell you that having an agent can be great. A perfect example, I just booked a feature film in Atlanta. I just got back. Matter of fact, today is Monday. It was last Monday when I shot it. And I let the agent handle a lot of things that in the past I used to do, or in some markets I still do on my own, which I don't really like to do. I let the agent handle so many things, including negotiating, which I really don't like to do, and it was wonderful, and the guy was great. So anyhow, if there is a specific thing that took place that you think is preventing you from getting an agent, write back, and I'd be more than happy to address it. But those are the things that I would be doing first, having the right materials, finding somebody local, and keep pursuing people. If one agent says no, so what? It's their loss, because you'll book jobs with another agent, and you'll find other agents as well. So hopefully that will answer that one for you.
So Aaron, Autumn asked to have herself unmuted, but I do want to see if we can get to some other questions. There's another one that just came through on Facebook, and Charles asked one on here I want to get to. So Autumn,
Okay,
if you can hang on, if we get some time here, Autumn, we'll go ahead and unmute you, but we want to get to some others as well. So just hang tight with us if you would.
So you want me to go through Gina's question?
That'd be great. So Gina,
So?
yeah, that would be awesome.
Yeah, okay. So in case anybody's not able to see my page right now, let me just read it. And this is from Gina. She's in Trinidad, and she's saying it's tough because she doesn't have an agent. She was saying there are no agents in Trinidad. And I don't know who to go to in order to get my acting career on track in the U.S. I need help and guidance with that. Perhaps you can help me. I also have the same problem with screenplay that she's writing. She has acting coaches from LA who've made successful movies already. So basically, here's the situation. When you're living in a place like Trinidad, first of all, congratulations. Boy, it's a beautiful place. In many ways, I'm kind of jealous. But as far as the acting and modeling goes, I'm assuming, because I don't know, that you are 100% correct that there are no agents in Trinidad. So let's just make that assumption. Although, sometimes people don't realize that there really are agents in the area. They think it's a small area and there's really nothing going on. You might be surprised that perhaps maybe there are some agents there. But let's just assume that there aren't any. let's just talk about work in Trinidad first, and then we can talk about the States. Um, as far as trying to get work on your own, and this will hold true whether you live in Trinidad, whether you live in Jamaica, whether you live any place in the Caribbean, whether you live in the States, it's going to be the same process. Just like I was mentioning earlier to Autumn, you've got to have the right materials. So you want a great headshot and a resume. If you want to get modeling work, commercial modeling work, then you can always start off with a headshot. That's what I did to just kind of get myself started. But then I put together, it's called a composite sheet, and that's what models use. The headshot is just one photo on the front, a resume on the back, and a composite sheet. It can run a whole lot of different ways. Some people have a headshot on the front and maybe 4 photos on the back. Some people have 4 or 5 photos just on one side, and that's it. But you do want to have a strong composite sheet. So let's assume you've got the right materials. You've got a headshot and or a composite sheet, and you want to try to get work in Trinidad. The next step is write a great cover letter. And in the cover letter, and by the way, if you ever do get my book, How to Become a Successful Commercial Model, you can borrow the cover letter that I have in there. That's why I put it in there. But essentially what it says is, you are a fresh face in this market, and keep me in mind for, and then you can list all the different areas of the industry that you would like to be working in. TV commercials, feature films, television shows, commercial modeling jobs, radio spots, training films, whatever you want to be working in. Then send that cover letter along with your materials, either the headshot and or the composite sheet, to advertising agencies. And I know that there are advertising agencies in Trinidad. It's a big country. So the people you want to send those materials to are the art director and or the creative director. They are the people who sometimes hire the actor for the TV commercial or the radio spot or the commercial modeling ad, the model for the ad. So start sending out lots of cover letters and just packages to these people. And I like the idea of physically mailing them as opposed to just sending an email, only because in today's time period, a lot of people won't open anything that has attachments unless they know who it's from. People get inundated with emails all day long, and so now it's somewhat unusual for someone to take the time, put the materials in an envelope, mail it, address it to a specific name. Don't just put Dear Art Director. I would do the same thing with photographers to have them keep you in mind for commercial modeling jobs. And also, you might want to find out if there's a film commission in Trinidad. There might be. I'm sure there are projects that are shot in Trinidad. And if so, find out what movies are coming to town, what television shows are coming to town, find out who's doing the casting, and send your materials there. So that's what I would begin doing for the Trinidad market. As far as working in the States, it's tricky. I'm not a immigration attorney, so I can't give you any legal advice. I do know that, look, there are people from other countries who work in the States all the time. There are people from England, people from Canada. Those are probably the two biggest importers of talent. Australia, there are a lot of people coming in. But it's complicated. You have to have an agent in the States who really wants you here, who is willing to help you out with all the paperwork. And that is possible. I would tend to think that Miami might be your best market, as far as trying to find an agent in the States. So you might want to check that out as well. So those are the things that I would do. And hey, if you ever want me to come over to Trinidad and do a workshop, let me know. Love to come over and do it. And but really keep looking and see if you can find some kind of local agent. And maybe even if it's not in Trinidad, maybe there's an agent in another country right around Trinidad that also will work with talent from Trinidad.
Awesome. Aaron, there's another question just came through Facebook. If you want to refresh, it's from Tammy near Pittsburgh.
Okie dokie. Oh, I keep looking at this picture of me and from this ad I did in Cleveland. Okay, we live in Pittsburgh, in the Pittsburgh area, and New York is too far for auditions. I agree. Is it possible to work via webcam or by another source? Great question. So, first of all, I do agree with you. Trying to audition in New York, that's going to be tough. Um, it's a really long drive, and it's not even so because I know sometimes people will say, "Well, look, if I get hired, I'll get there. I'll whatever it takes. I will be there." The problem is most of the time, and once again, and I keep saying this, but there are exceptions to the rule, but most of the time, it's not just a matter of getting hired and being there. Most of the time, you've got to be there for a callback. A lot of times, you've got to be there for the audition. So you could potentially have to drive to New York for an audition, go back home. The best case scenario, drive back for a callback. That's when people want to see you again, and then potentially drive back again for the job. So yeah, I agree. It is somewhat unrealistic. Now, as far as a webcam, what I do is there are some agents in certain markets and certain casting directors and certain productions where they will allow actors to initially do their audition online. So what I do is I have a camera, I purchase some lights. It's not like a huge investment or anything. It's not like I've got a studio here. It's pretty basic stuff. I have a white screen and I'm able and a microphone. So I'm able to shoot auditions for the people who are okay with that. In New York, typically the only times when they will be okay with that is if it's a project and they just can't find the right person, and then they kind of open it up to the general public and to a lot more people. But most of the time for auditions, whether it's LA or New York, they want you there. And the reason is because they can get millions of people to show up, so they don't have to rely on people just emailing in auditions. Like I said, sometimes it does happen, but most of the time not. However, I've auditioned quite a few times for productions on the East Coast, especially Southeast, for projects in North Carolina, for Atlanta, for South Carolina. And as a matter of fact, this feature film that I just did, my initial audition was from my home. And I emailed it, I did the audition, then I had to edit it a certain way. I wasn't editing out the read, but there are certain things that they want you to do, slating your name at a certain part, that kind of stuff. Then I emailed it to the agent, and then the agent submitted it to the casting director. Casting director saw it and said she liked me. She wanted me to come in and read for her and the director who was flying in from LA. So the agent called me and said, they want to see you for a callback. Great, where's the callback? Well, the callback was 11.5 hour drive from where I live. And I decided to do it. So I drove 11.5 hours just for a callback. I mean, they saw a number of people at the callback. And it just so happens that for this one I did book it. So it did work out well. So as a long-winded way of answering your question, yeah, actually there are some areas where absolutely you can do the initial audition online. Well, when I say online, you shoot it digitally and then you email it in. But be prepared that they still might want to see you in person for a callback. And just getting a callback doesn't even mean you're that close to booking the job. All that means is they like what you did and they want to see you again. And like I said, certainly you've been narrowed down. They might have seen 20 people, 30 people, 40 people at an audition, depending on the part. I mean, sometimes it could be 100, but so it's narrowed down, and maybe it's a handful of people, but still, only one person's going to book that particular role. So yeah, get the equipment, practice, and so at least that way, whenever you are in a situation where somebody asks you to record the audition online, you have the capability to do it, you know how to do it. And if you want, we could always talk about it sometime later. I can share with you some of the free programs that I use just for editing. There are also some that aren't very expensive to use, so we can talk about that later. But yeah, actually, more and more people are doing that online today in certain markets. And just once again, a little bit of a side note, living near the Pittsburgh area, that's a really good market. there's a lot going on in Pittsburgh. It's a really good commercial market, and you're also within a drive to Cleveland, which, depending on where you live, might only be a few hours away, which also is a good market. So, you're living in a pretty good area. And there are projects that come through town, and there are lots of jobs that are going on in that particular market. So just because you live in a secondary market, it's considered a smaller market, doesn't mean there's not a lot of really good work for you there.
Yeah, that's a good answer, Aaron. Thank you. Charlene has typed into GoToWebinar. She wants to know what's the best way to break into the voiceover business. And before you answer that, I just want to remind people, if you'd like to ask a question, the best way to ask a question is to head over to facebook.com/how to model. Facebook.com/how to model. Just type your question directly in there, and Aaron will be able to read it directly on the air. So what's the best way to break into the voiceover business, Charlene wants to know?
Okay, so for voiceovers, and just so that people know, voiceovers can mean a lot of different things. It can be anything from animation, cartoons. It can be video games. You can also be doing radio spots. You can do narrations. You can also be doing audiobooks. Tons of people doing audiobooks. I know, as a matter of fact, Sean Pratt, a friend, this guy's done over 700 audiobooks. It's pretty incredible. Let me also just tell you, personally, I think it's the most difficult area to have real success in. It's hard. It's really very difficult. Typically, there aren't that many people who are phenomenal in each market, and they get the majority of the work. I know some people that have done a lot of political spots, voiceovers. These people have made hundreds of thousands of dollars just during the political campaign time period. So it can be extremely lucrative. Here's how you want to do it. You've got to put together a great demo reel. And a demo reel is normally it's going to be around a minute long, and you're going to take little clips from recordings that you've done. And you can separate it if you want. You can have a demo reel just for narrations. You can have a demo reel just for animation. You can do a reel just for documentaries. Whatever area of the industry you want to work in. Now, most people don't have such a wide range that they're going to have many different demo reels. Some people certainly do. I just split mine up into narrations as well as radio spots. So that's what I have. But what you want to do is maybe take 10, 15 seconds tops from a clip of something that you've recorded and put that on your demo reel. You want to create and make sure that people know what you sound like. They want to hear what your strength is. They want to know what it is about you that makes you stand out from everybody else. And I can tell you what I do. I'm not, this incredible voiceover guy. I'm not somebody who can do everything. What my strength is, when I do get hired, and I don't get that many of them, but when I do the radio spots or narrations, I'm the regular guy. I'm the guy, here, I'm going to go into my radio voice. I'm the guy that you trust. I'm the guy you like. You believe me. And so when I tell you that our hospital can really help you because we care, that's my strength. I'm kind of like everybody who's next door neighbor. When they need the announcer, that's not me. When they need the guy who's screaming, at the car races or drag racing or monster truck shows, that's not me. I know what my strength is, and that's what my original demo was all about. And so at first I didn't have anything to put in there, so I found radio spots that sounded right for me, or narrations that felt right for my particular voice. And I wanted to make sure that I used certain spots that weren't that well known, because I didn't want people to think that I actually did those national spots. And So I went to a studio during off hours, put it together. The producer was very helpful, and that's how I did it. And if you ever have any questions, there are some people I know that work with actors putting together a demo reel. And so just shoot me an email, and I'd be more than happy to share my contacts with you. So that's what you want to do. Put together a great demo reel. Don't do more than what you can do. Only put the stuff that you can do in there that you are great at. Because what I found is some people think that they can just do everything and they try to do everything, and some things are really good at, some things are not so great at, and people tend to remember the parts that you're not so great at. So stick with your strength.
All right, great. Excuse me, I just want to let you know Nancy wrote in when you asked a question earlier about what are people doing to further their career. She said, "What I do is network with other actors on Facebook. I join acting groups on Facebook." So she wanted to give that there. Kind
That's a
of, go ahead.
that's a great idea, Joel. Joel, actually, if you wouldn't mind, if you would write back, I'd love to have Nancy list some of the groups that she is a part of, just so we can share it here. That would be
Absolutely.
wonderful.
Absolutely. Okay, yeah, Nancy, I'll write her there, and I think she probably is also hearing us as well. But I'll write back in the little note field there. This is kind of a last call. We're starting to wrap up the session. This went really fast, Aaron, but I know that it's coming up on the top of the hour in about 15 minutes here, and we want to keep everybody's time in mind. So,
Oh, and Joel, I was just going to jump in for 1 second. I also noticed when you're done with your question that Tammy wrote another question, and so
yeah,
if we do have time, I'll try to follow it up.
I was going to have you go there just one more time. I was going to tell people that please type your questions into the facebook.com/ how to model. And Aaron's continually refreshing that page. Even if you don't get your question answered on this session, Aaron can answer it offline after we're done in the actual comment field there. So please feel free to type your questions in and facebook.com/ how to model. We'd love to have you be a part of that community. So Aaron, let's get to Tammy's.
Yeah, sure. So Tammy wrote and she said she had a great headshot professionally taken here on the East Coast, but when she lived in LA, they said that the headshot was not good enough. Any suggestions on how to get the look they are looking for? Years ago, there was a real distinction between the East Coast headshots and the West Coast headshots. And I have found that things have blurred a little bit, and yeah, there are some differences. It's not as great as it used to be, but the reason why this is a really interesting question is because it's not only just New York or LA, but it can be for a lot of different markets. And what you will find is typically in LA, it's more laid back, more natural lighting. People certainly wearing less formal clothing than on the East Coast. So, it's not even so much that the headshot might not be great, but maybe it's not great for the LA market. And that's really, it's a big difference. You know, Sometimes people say, well, the headshot just doesn't work. Well, maybe it's phenomenal, and maybe it would work really well on the East Coast. So, as a suggestion, whenever you're planning on moving to a different area. Now, look, if you're moving from, Washington, D.C. to Northern Virginia, I don't think you really have to do a major change. But if you're talking about a completely different kind of market, the best thing to do, if you can, is to try to find a great photographer in the market that you are trying to work in. And the reason why that can be really helpful, not only will that headshot photographer or commercial photographer doing commercial modeling shots for your comp card, not only will he or she really be clued in and know exactly what people are looking for in that particular area, but here's the other thing too is it's all about networking, and which kind of ties into what we are doing as well. And when you were, doing a headshot session with a photographer, that photographer, especially if it's a, well-established person, somebody who's been doing this for a long time, they're going to be able to answer some really important questions for you. What type is right for you? What kinds of roles, does the photographer think would be the right look for you? What agents in the area would the photographer recommend that you contact? Because the photographer probably has been sent tons of talent from various agents. So these people, they have personal connections, maybe even certain casting directors. And so I realize it's another expense. But like with any business, we do have some startup costs. Then you have general maintenance, and that's just the way the industry works. Look, it's not like you're opening up a store and you have to buy $100,000 worth of equipment. But yeah, I mean, you do need a great headshot if you want to do commercial modeling work. It'd be really helpful to have a com card. You might have to pay to be on some websites. I mean, there are some expenses, but it's not like other kinds of businesses. So I think the best thing to do is find a great photographer in the market that you want to work with, and hopefully that will give you the photos that will help get you what you want in that particular area.
Okay, another question came in over GoToWebinar. And folks, just so you know, it'd be easier to read your questions off of the Facebook page. I understand some people don't have Facebook or they're not able to do that right now. But if you can, go over to facebook.com/how to model. This is from Anne. She says, I'm a senior who was told that would be a good commercial model. What classes could I take to gain the skills I would need?
Okay. Okay. So let's assume we're talking about commercial modeling. And you know, I really don't know of any schools that, have long-term classes for commercial modeling. And look, the point of me having this session is not for me just to be hawking my materials and services, but I can let you know that both my book, How to Become a Successful Commercial Model, and having a private coaching session with me will give you all the information that you need to get started, to put together the right information, to put together the right materials, to learn how to find agents in your particular area. And I can do that with you right online if you would like, and I can save you years and years and years and years of guesswork and trial and error and spending a lot of money unnecessarily. For the commercial modeling world, there are some very specific things that you want to learn, like how to put together the right kinds of photos, how to get photos taken free. Sometimes you can test out your ideas at no cost. And also, once you have those materials, then how to go about finding the agents or how to market yourself and things like that. So there really aren't schools just for commercial modeling. Certainly there are plenty of acting schools, but not for commercial modeling. But that's, really that's why I do my workshops. That's why I do the private coaching sessions. And that's why I wrote the book. And if you do have any specific questions about any of those things, you can either write to me right at Facebook, or just send me an email at Aaron, Aaron at howtomodel.com, and I'd be more than happy to try to answer any kind of questions that you have.
Okay, great. I just wanted to check in with Nancy had written some of these actor groups on Facebook, and so I wanted to read those off for everybody real quick. One is the Actor Support Group. One is called My Extras/Friends. One is called Hollywood South. Another one is called My Acting Friends, and another one is Acting Auditions, and another one is Casting Calls. And Nancy, if you ever get a chance to type some of those onto the Facebook page, that would be great for sharing those there. And I know that you might not be able to do that right now, but in the future, if you're able to put those on our facebook.com/how to model page, that would be great for people to be able to have those as shared on there. So thank you very much for sharing those.
Oh, that's fantastic. And I see that Anne did submit the question here. She's a senior. Now, I can't really see the picture really well, but actually, I'm not sure. I can't tell whether...
Yeah, click on the link that says Ann Schmidt on the right side and see if that brings up a picture there. Yeah.
There we go. And you're not a senior? I don't get that one. Okay, not a senior in high school, but you're not, I don't know. I guess when I think of seniors, I'm thinking of much, 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 much older. So yeah, absolutely. You should be looking into commercial modeling. Just very quickly, I mean, I see you as the teacher. You're the real estate agent. You could be the nurse. You could work as a therapist. I mean, there are lots of different categories that would be right for you. So yeah, absolutely, you should be looking into commercial modeling.
And she lives in Baltimore, so it's
Lives in
your old
Baltimore.
stomping grounds. Well, I think we're wrapping up for the night, Aaron. And I just want to say, if you still have more questions, please feel free to type those into the How to Model Facebook page, which is facebook.com/ how to model. And Aaron can answer those questions there. And we've got a whole community of people that can interact as well, not just Aaron. There are over 4,000 people right now, currently, as we're speaking, that are on that community. And it's growing every day. More and more people are joining. So it's a really great resource for you to be a part of and connect with people. You might find other people in your area. You might connect with all sorts of different people in the industry. And then also, I just wanted to mention, Aaron had mentioned this before, but if you are interested in doing some one-on-one coaching, in fact, one of the young ladies that was on earlier, Aaron, typed in and she said she's going to be reaching out to you at your email address. I gave it to her. It's Aaron@howtomodel.com. She's going to be reaching out and setting up one of those sessions with you. So if you're also interested in doing that, just email Aaron@howtomodel.com, AARON.
Hey, Joel, I was just going to ask, are there any other questions that have come in through uh, join the webinar? I don't see anything else here on Facebook right
Nope,
now.
we're good. I think we're ready to wrap up for tonight. I think we should do this again in the future. This has been great. This is really interactive and a great community event. So this is fantastic. Thanks, Aaron, for your time on this.
Yeah, sure. And then let me just, wind things up for everybody here. Um, Let me just tell you, this industry, I know it scares a lot of people off, and I know there are a lot of people who think, I'm too old, I'm too short, I can't get started, at this age, and let me just tell you, people get started at all different ages. People get work, whether they are, short, whether they're tall. In the fashion world, it's very different. In the commercial modeling world, everybody is needed. And the same holds true for commercials, TV commercials, and things like that. And so, if this is something that interests you, then, give it a shot. You know, what I always found was I would have been okay not not having any kind of success. That I could live with, as long as I knew that I gave it my best shot. I did everything I possibly could, and if it didn't work out, you know what? Then it just didn't work out, and then I would move on to something else. What I couldn't live with was the unknown. That if I didn't try it, always wondering, I wonder what if, I wonder if I could have been in a magazine ad. I wonder if I could have been in a TV commercial. I wonder if I could have been on a television show or an independent film or in a feature film. And that would have just gnawed at me. I would have had nightmares. I would have been thinking about it all the time. Every time I would see a movie, I'd probably be wondering, I wonder if I could have done that. I wonder what that would have been like. And so for me, it was a matter of making sure that I followed through and really did everything that I possibly could. And, as it turns out, so far I've booked 1,201 jobs over the past 27 years. So I've been pretty fortunate with that. But, you might find that there are people who are discouraging you, people who will tell you, really, well, why are you doing this? You're wasting your time. And I can tell you, before I started going to New York, um, there were some people who were saying to me, "You really think they need you in New York? Like they already have a million actors, they already have a million models. You live in a small market. Look, I don't want to see you get your heart broken." And what I found was, and I don't know if you guys have ever experienced this, but what I found was those people really weren't thinking about me. They didn't really have my best interest. Uh, they simply didn't have the courage to give it a try, and they didn't want to see anybody else succeed. And they would do, whatever it took to try to get other people, including me, not to do it. And the same theory held true for going to New York. I could have been very comfortable going up to New York and never getting representation. I could live with that. What I couldn't live with was not trying it. That's That would have been the tough part. And like I said at the very beginning of the day, look, there are a lot of people who, simply aren't trying to make a living at this. Most people don't. Most people just, every once in a while they want to see themselves, on a billboard, in a newspaper ad, on a brochure, whether it's an extra, being in a TV commercial. It doesn't make any difference. It's just fun being on a set, surrounding yourself with other people in the industry, and it's cool. And I can tell you that even after, booking, over 1,200 jobs, I still get very excited anytime that I'm called. It doesn't make any difference, big, small, it doesn't matter. I still feel very fortunate that somebody thought of me. And, it's easy to take that kind of stuff for granted, but somebody has to think of you in order to call you. And even if it's just an audition, I'm very thankful about those as well. So if this is something that interests you, give it a shot. You know, the worst thing that can happen is it doesn't work out, and that's okay. Sure that you can live with that one as well. As long as you did everything you possibly could, you got the right information, you put the right materials together, you know, that's the way to go about doing this. So this was fun. This was the first time we've done something quite like this. I enjoyed it. I'd love to do it more often. And please tell your friends about the facebook.com/how to model page. That's how we're going to build this thing up even bigger and bring in more people and have a larger community and be able to share more information, with others. So anyhow, it was a lot of fun. Joel, thank you so much for taking care of all the hosting and putting this together. It was great. And make sure that you guys are signed up for my free weekly acting and modeling information. Been sending out some really, really interesting blog videos, and you can do that right at howtomodel.com and just sign in. It's all free, and looking forward to talking with you all soon.